Welcome to Yoga Biz Camp with myself, Michael J. I'm a yoga business coach with 25 plus years of experience as a creative, a total tech geek, and a yoga business owner. Today I have my good friend Rachel Scott. Rachel's a teacher, a trainer, author, education expert, and fellow yoga geek. Super happy to have Rachel join me today. Welcome to another episode of Yoga Biz Camp. I am Michael J, and I have my good friend who I haven't had the opportunity to see in real life yet, Rachel Scott. Hi, Rachel.
Hello, it's so nice to see you.
I
know, I do feel that. I'm like, you're my friend, but we haven't met in person yet, but we will.
And you know what I love about you, Rachel, is we just speak the same language. it's so fun
it's
to
true.
talk with you. So if you haven't, if you don't know Rachel was on one of my previous podcasts, and it was about the new landscape of hustle, in particular with yoga teachers. I'm just going to reread her bio here in case you're not familiar with this amazing person. Rachel Scott, a teacher, trainer, author, educator, expert. Rachel is committed to helping teachers and studios manifest their vision, passion, and potential. With a master's in science in instructional systems and learning technology, she helps studios and teachers create high-quality in-person and online training and courses. Like many of us, she has worn many hats during her yoga career: teacher, teacher manager, studio director, curriculum developer, departmental director, entrepreneur, and brings all of these things to the table as a thought partner and ally for her clients. I love that, thought partner. I want to be a thought partner.
You are a thought partner. Done. Well, I think sometimes it's what we need. You know how it is. I mean, especially now with everybody being online, sometimes it's hard to find your tribe or just have a sounding board or just be like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Is that crazy?
Yeah, absolutely. And, to that point, I just recently asked Rachel for her rates on consulting because I want to launch something next year. And so I am going to hire Rachel as a thought partner, as a coach for me because she specializes in something that I'm not familiar in. And it's the same thing with, my studio clients and my teacher clients. And it is the fastest way to get where you want to go is to hire somebody like yourself or myself to achieve your goal. Do you not agree with that? Like, it's how many coaches have you hired?
Oh, lots, mostly for my personal life, but no, for business too. I think it's so important, right back at you, right? Like with your business acumen and your skills, that it's, I heard someone say something: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Yeah. And I think that's so true. And I've been tempted by this idea that I have to do it all. Yeah. And what happens is that, and because here's the thing, everybody out there, you could do it all. You could take each of those individual skills and you could do a training course. You could learn to market. You could learn mind body. You could learn business skills. You could learn instructional design. But you have to be careful. You have to go like, what is worth my time, right? Because you also need to spend time being you and cultivating your voice, doing your thing. So when you're hiring somebody, it's not because you couldn't do it yourself if you spent 40 hours learning, or 200 hours or 800 hours, you're hiring people because they can help you get you there faster, and you can focus on what you're really good at. So
also, in my case, I find that I help, especially in the startup phases of businesses, which I'm working with quite a few people on right now with like brand new studios. And, it's that same thing. It's like, because I've been there, I feel that I can help people stop making mistakes, like not making mistakes. I learned from my mistakes, right? And so and for one example, I've got a studio opening up, and there's a CrossFit gym opening 2 doors from them. And I've been there. I've been in that experience where I've had CrossFit banging on the ground that affected my studio 2 doors away. So, only if you've been in those shoes can you help other people avoid making those kind of mistakes, right? So listen, what's going on in the yoga world right now? You've got it all going on. I mean, I'm always in such admiration of I really am, because for some reason, you have this energy to get a lot done. And so I always feel that you finish projects, right? I feel like I start a lot of projects, but you really do see projects through. So tell me what's going on in your world and what you're seeing in the world.
Well, thank you for that. And the reason, and here's a trick, everybody out there, because I am great at starting things and actually not great at finishing things. So
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, I know. So here's my trick.
You have finished products. That's why.
Oh, that's true. I do, but what I do is I set a deadline where I'm obligated to someone else. So I'm like, if I'm doing it for myself, there's like, oh, I need a coffee right now. I have to go and like do this. I go to yoga class. Yeah. But if I say like, you know what, I have to have this completed because this group of people is depending on me, or because I've set this launch date, or because I have students enrolling. And especially when you're creating online courses and things like that, that can be a very good motivator to make sure that you stay on track. Because it's hard for all of us to, especially in this world where we have to be so self-motivated and self-creative and self-actualizing, that I find that it's just about setting up a structure where we're like, okay, I know that I might not like the gym. I might not go by myself, but if my girlfriend's going to meet me there, I will show up because I'm beholden to her. So that's a trick that I use all the time. It's not,
Yeah. One of the things I've started trying to do, it's difficult, is not making lists, but booking it into the calendar.
That's an awesome tip. That's so smart. I think that's really wise.
Instead of like it being something you have to check off, which I love checking off lists, but you like it too. Yeah, it's something about it, right? I like a big fat marker, to be honest.
Yeah, it's so satisfying.
Yeah. So I came across you last week on the Yoga Alliance webinar you did for them. And so just a little context here. Rachel and I met on the Yoga Alliance forums, and just by chit-chatting originally, and then we're like, oh, I kind of like you. Do you want to have coffee online? And so that's how it kind of started. And I did, last year, I did 3 Business of Yoga webinars, and you did one last week. And the great thing about the Yoga Alliance webinars is that they live on forever on YouTube as well. So if you missed Rachel's webinar last week, it was really good. I wasn't prepared for it. And I'll tell you why I wasn't prepared for it. It's because I was in work mode and I had stuff I had to get done. I'm like, I'm going to log into Rachel's webinar. And then like 10 minutes into it, I'm like, oh, this is a working webinar. Like this is actually, so I did have it on, but it is one thing I want to go revisit, because I thought you gave a lot of great information on how to create a course for a yoga teacher, and also the technology around that as well.
That can be so scary for people. People can get really freaked out about the tech. I was before. So the whole reason I went back and got my master's was because I was like, I see that online is going to go someplace. We all want to do that. How do we do it skillfully? And the tech freaks me out. I'm like, I don't know these platforms. I don't know these tools. Like, how do I navigate that? And then over the course of the 3-year master's program, what is revealed is that the tech is not that important. But you're like, oh, okay. But it's actually the design and the structure.
Yeah. And that's your background, right? Designing, what do you call it? What's your title?
Oh, instructional design.
Design, yeah.
Yeah. My master's is instructional systems and learning technology, which sounds like, but the system it's like the system of design. Yeah. So it's instructional design. Like, how do you create great education that's effective, and how do you do it efficiently? Because like many of us, like all the mistakes, I flailed through creating my first, 200-hour. And I've always sort of been a teacher, but when you're putting something that massive together, 200 hours is a lot. 500 hours is huge. How do you do it in a way that you're not kind of like repeating yourself or having to revise? So this is what that process really gives you, is a way to be very clear and efficient and structured, which is very helpful when you're creating something to that scale.
Yeah. And then how do you go when you create your courses, which you have we'll go over those shortly, but what do you do, and how would you recommend other people kind of market those courses?
Oh, to market them. Yeah.
To be different, your course has to fulfill a need.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it does. So like, what are people needing? And you guys, you can go to your community and find that out. It's the things that people tell you all the time, right?
I read like, read the Facebook forums, the studio owner groups, and yeah.
Does anybody know how to do this? What is, like my pain point is this: how do I schedule my classes for maximum effect? Or I imagine you get like, for you, it's also when you're starting to build studios, I imagine you're setting a lot of processes in place that are going to
well, actually before process, it's very interesting. It's similar to creating a course, but it is, I have a few studios right now across country from one coast to the other coast. And the first part is mission, vision, values before going anywhere. And I think that's sort of the similar thing to a process in creating a course. And then it is researching who your avatar is, who your ideal client is, and then what do they need? What do they need help with? So you're finding out what that void is for that particular person. So that's my process in starting up a studio, but it's similar for a course as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so similar. And I think as well, what you said about mission, vision, values, that's so important for every teacher out there. You don't have to be everybody, you just have to be you. And so when you're clear about that mission, vision, and values and what you want to share uniquely and what you're excited about, what lights you up. One thing I tell, teachers out there is like, yoga should not be your life. It should serve your life. And your yoga career should also serve your life. We have this feeling we have to be everything, but it's like, no, what gives you passion and what are you excited to bring forward? And then from there, then the work becomes easier because it's motivated by something which is really authentic to you. So yeah, I definitely see.
Yeah. And so anyway, back to how do you market it? Like, how do you, do you have any tips for people, studios, yoga teachers on when they do create a course, how do you get that word out there that's kind of uniquely yours?
Well, here's the thing. So, and I'm quick to tell people that I don't market. I'm not a marketer. I'm a quality person about your course. However, that is kind of marketing. So when I have a couple of really practical tips actually for folks, which is, when you create a quality course, first of all, you don't have to worry about, we have this idea that an online course needs to reach thousands of people and have all this massive bandwidth. And I was just talking to one of my favorite yogis this morning, Melanie Salvatore Algast, who's awesome. She's my buddy. And we were talking about, it's like, actually not about that. It's someone said, you'd probably know, Michael, 100 true fans, like that's what you need.
Yep.
So in the courses, I used to start off creating my courses as if I wanted everyone in the world to take them. And now I'm like, I want 8 people to take my course with me in connection, because then they're getting attention. They're actually transforming. It's so easy to create an online course that no one checks into and kind of like never gets juiced. But when you show up and you're in the course with them and providing touch points with you and feedback and connection with each other, that's the experience you want to create, because that's going to give them a better experience. It's more fun for you. It's more fun for me. So it creates community.
Clarify that. So your style of course, let's take, for example, Rachel's sequencing mentorship. So I'm imagining that course, it has 129 lessons, and I'm imagining that course is a whole bunch of video and tests and kind of things like that. And then there's a like kind of office hours sort of thing where you all get together. Is that how you do it?
It's really, I love this course. So this course is a big course. It's 4 months long. And the course, and just going to come back to what's the need I'm filling. So I've heard a lot of, teachers out there who are teachers, but they feel fuzzy on their sequencing, or they want to reinvigorate their sequencing, or they don't know peak post sequencing, or they came from a set sequence 200 hour and now they want to figure out, how do I create my own sequences? So this is for them. And what it's a combination of is it's a combination of pre-recorded modules that I've done. So I've done sort of a flash background of sequencing and sequencing terms at the beginning to get everyone on the same page. And then every single week, people get they get an intro, like, hey, this is about this. And they get a peak pose sequence. So I'm like, we're going to go to this pose this week. Here's the pose. The peak pose is handstand. Okay. That's our peak pose. And so we break it down into its component parts. I give them a sequence so that they can actually see how I've chosen poses to help lead up to the peak pose. So they're like, oh, okay, anatomically, I get it. I give them teaching tips. So I'm like, hey, based on 20 years of teaching or whatever, here's how I think. Here's the things I've run into. Here's some strategies. Here's my tips and favorite ways to approach this. And I'm a huge anatomy person, so it's infused with anatomy and stuff. And then I know it's so fun. And like there's some other little tips and stuff in there. And then what I do is I teach 2 public classes a week that they get a membership to for 4 months in Hatha style and in the Vinyasa style, because it's a little different. And I show them how I would teach the handstand in this style of yoga class and this style of yoga class. And so they join me, and some people can't, some people have to watch the recordings, but they join me. And so they can feel it in their body. So they kind of get it here. They get something they can take to their students and play with. And then they get 2 classes. And then once a month we meet and we go through some of the key skills. Teaching skills, I think, is really important when you're teaching peak pose sequencing. So I love it.
I love that component of, because there's a lot of people doing the evergreen where you just throw it up online and it just keeps going, what have you. But I think the way you do it is smart, because you do it in periods, like registered periods, right? Which gives you time to market that prior to, and then you've got those personal touch points in there, which
is so important.
Yeah, it is
so key.
It's that human connection thing, right? It's
I used to run the evergreen courses. I used to try that. Like I'd put a course up and it would be like crickets, or a couple people would jump on at the beginning. But the thing that the periodization gives you is, 1, you set meetings to be with them. 2, they have a group so you can do peer work, which is awesome. Like get them to connect with each other. And it's just like I was talking about going to the gym earlier. You don't show up for yourself, but you show up for your friend.
Yeah.
Same thing. You show up for your peer and do the work that it keeps you on track. And then also with marketing, just to be practical, people are so busy right now. They need it to be time sensitive. They need to feel like this is the last 5 days to register for this. Because then they go, okay, now I'll commit, because there's a priority there. Otherwise it's I have so many online courses that are not time sensitive that have I taken them? No, I have like 8.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I know that one. So with that course, talking about with filling a need, that's filling a need because you really don't get that practice time in a teacher training. I hired and trained and mentored and apprenticed many, many, many teachers over 13 years owning the yoga studio. What I will say is, when people came out of teacher trainings, as great as the trainings are, you're not ready. Right? It's practice, and it's all sorts of, it's not, to me, it's there's a visual practice too. It's watching the students, and it's, but it's an interesting time right now because there's a lot of people churning through teacher trainings, having not had that in-person experience. So they're learning in Zoom squares. So it's kind of an interesting period right now. And I see that Yoga Alliance is trying to adapt a little bit around that. And I'm not quite sure what the updates are on here. I'm sure you're aware of what's going on, but.
Yeah, they're juggling. So Yoga Alliance, I think right now is in a listening period. So basically they've given everybody carte blanche for the next, I think it's 2 years. I think the exemption that I just clicked off on is actually through 2023, I think. I just can't quite remember, but I think they really want to listen to their constituency and say, hey, how are you running your courses? How are you managing this? What's working for you? Because they could come in and just say, hey, you guys, so synchronous is when we're like this, we're on Zoom. And just for folks out there who may not know, asynchronous online, so both are online, but asynchronous is when they do pre-recorded lectures and stuff. So right now, Yoga Alliance is like, go online, everybody. No restrictions. So you could take a teacher training course that's entirely pre-recorded, which is not great, folks out there. In case you were wondering, that is not great. So right now, but Yoga Alliance isn't going to come down with their standards, because if they come down prematurely with standards that people can't accommodate, then people are going to leave Yoga Alliance because they need to run their businesses. So Yoga Alliance is being thoughtful, I think, and really taking in information about, hey, what are you doing? What are your best practices? So that they can then put together some standards for online, so that we're kind of back in quality track. Because right now it's a little wild westy out there with what people could do.
Rachel, are you seeing, there was kind of COVID hit, studios closed, teachers found that they can do it themselves online. And so there was this kind of big influx of that, I'd say, a little bit over a year ago. I feel like that's died down a little bit from that massive, people have figured out whether they can do it or they can't do it. What are you seeing out there in the business of it?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think that I think the thing is that students crave being in person.
Yeah.
So I think obviously we had a, yeah. And I mean, we had a wonderful influx of online, which I'm grateful for our community because it gives people more avenues for connecting and revenue and resilience and like that's super important for us. But I do see that people want to go back to studio. And so I think it's going to kind of rebound a little bit as COVID dies down and as people are able to go back to studio. I think they crave that, but now we have the online piece as part of it and that's not going to go away. We're so much more versed in that now.
Yeah.
So
are you finding that teachers are still able to make a business for themselves?
I gotta be honest. I think if you're a real big name, that you can, but I think it's pretty hard actually for a solo teacher to have consistency. Like, this is why I don't run so many public classes. I'll just be candid with you guys out there. If I just run a public class, there's so much noise out there. I don't get many people to come. But if I'm running training classes where people are registered and engaged, and Michael, this comes back to what you were talking about a long time ago about having people register for classes, which is so smart.
Yeah.
If people are committed, then they'll come. So I think, I think it's kind of hard to get people to come just because people are busy and they're going back to studios and they kind of want to maybe get away from the online a little bit. It's not impossible, but I think it's a different, it's like a normal regular class now, right? Where it takes 6 months.
I mean, I'm online only now, and my classes, because I only do that, my online classes are busy. I think I have like 25 people coming to classes, and those people are happy with it, but I do see now that the studio is coming back. Slowly and carefully, and people are slowly coming back. I mean, it's different all over the world in different areas for sure. I know here in Canada, it's been a sort of a slow go, and virtual still very important here. But then in California, I see a lot more studios fully open, and so it's kind of definitely been a very interesting period. Have you gone back to the studio?
No, I mean, I also just kind of moved myself to Colorado, so I don't have a studio. If I were in Vancouver, I would be more connected to a studio system. But because I'm here and this is a new space for me, I haven't. I mean, I've taken three. I've taken 3 classes in a yoga studio personally, just as a student over the last 2 years. I do a lot of my practicing online, which is I really like because my teacher lives in Turkey. One of my teachers that I like to take, so I get to have a Wednesday it's their Wednesday evening, but I get to have a Wednesday class every week with one of my favorite teachers who I normally wouldn't get to hang out with.
And so do you have clients that are opening new businesses? Are you having any of those happen with your students?
Well, what I usually see is, I mean, I do see my teacher trainee graduates going off in the world and they're doing well. And it is a thing because our training is completely online. And I get notices from them, like some of them are teaching in person, some of them are teaching online, and I get these notices about like that it's going well. So that's super exciting. But I think the idea is to think, even if we're online, is to think local. It's like, who am I connected to, rather than thinking like it's like teaching at your place of work or connecting with using the network that you already have, I think is super helpful. I mean, most of the people that I see who are clients in the education world they're launching new online courses. That's really big still. And also teacher trainings are still working, right?
You do well with your teacher training because you have a 200-hour teacher training package, correct? And I know one of my clients that I helped open a studio in Tawasin purchased your package. Satya Yoga in
yes, Jagdeep. So so I have a 200-hour, but the thing that's a little different about mine, from what I understand based on my competition or what's out there, is that I have a a teacher training, which is like, of course, it's the student manual, of course, but it's the real value of it is all the lesson plans. So I plan out learning objectives, activities, lectures, presentations. Every hour is accounted for and then fully scheduled. And it's also according to Yoga Alliance standards. So you're going into it with something which is going to be robust. But then people can edit mine, because like I'm a huge fan. When you come back to mission, vision, values, I'm like, I don't want you to teach my training. Yes, I'll give you good backbone and a good foundation. But I want you to be able to adapt that and pull things out and put things in so that it's your voice, right? When you're teaching it. And some of the trainings out there you can buy, but then you have to teach them lockstep how they're presented. You can't edit the materials. And I'm like, no, you take this, build, refine, edit, change, adapt.
Massive project just creating that, I would imagine.
Massive.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
And
I just adapted it. I actually just I'm putting out a 2022 version, which has notes for how to do everything on Zoom as well. So it's kind of like, here's in-person version. Here's how you also could teach this same material online, right? Because people need that now. So, but people are teacher trainers.
Tell people about your courses. And you've got a little bit of a deal, I believe. So we've got Rachel's sequencing membership starts January 9th. The art of theming starts January 30th. And how to create an online course starts February 6th. And then she's got 200-hour teacher training. She's got Create Your Yoga Teacher Training, the ultimate guide, how to register or up-level with Yoga Alliance, new standards.
That's free.
Your student and market for success. I love it. Like I just really feel that you love to share. And also this is all on Thinkific, talking about technology. Thinkific is your chosen platform, right? For hosting your courses.
That's right. And Thinkific and Teachable are like little soul sisters. Yeah. So I like Thinkific because it's in Vancouver, and I love, yay. And I like what they can do. That's why I put my educational courses. They make it really easy to create courses and also to take payments and process things and track your students. So I just think they're solid, and so I like them.
And for every independent yoga teacher here, please hear this. You need a class management system. Even if it's a simple, inexpensive system, there's a lot out there, but something to book your classes and take payments at least is definitely the way to go. Doing it by spreadsheet and Venmo is just not the way to go.
Because you're in that world, who do you like for online classes?
I tell you, I'm all over the place right now. Honestly, I truly am. And this is a really good question, but it's interesting. I just did a deep dive for, I've got these studios opening, and it really depends on the needs. And so I'm a big fan of the systems. Okay, let's go to two paths here: yoga studios and yoga teachers. All right. So for yoga studios, you don't need a booking system. You need a studio management program. And so for those things, I'm really looking at things like Mind Body Online, of course. Wellness Living are doing a pretty good job in Toronto. And new one, Walla Software, which you might want to have a conversation with Laura. Actually, she's on my last podcast, Laura from Walla Software. Very interesting. That's all about the psychology of the consumer. And they have very interesting. And then all the marketing is targeted to that personality type in the studio. Very interesting take. So I'm super excited about it.
Interesting, yeah.
So the yoga teachers, I think Arkeda's doing a really good job.
Don't know them.
They work called Sutra.fit. They're now Arkeda. I think they're doing a good job. You got Ribbon, you've got Punch Pass, Interval. So there's a whole bunch kind of at that level. There's a lot of those. And who's the other one? And Team Up.
Offering Tree is another one too.
I haven't used Offering Tree. I did the demo, but Offering Tree seems to come like you've got it's your website and everything, right, all together in one.
They try to do that. They're still working on their flexibility with that. I see for yoga teachers who are just out, who don't have a website at all, that could be a good choice. But if you've already got a website, you might want something different. So.
Yeah, so I think there's never been a better time to get studio software, because I definitely recommend people going and trying out and getting demos. A lot of them have free demos. Also, if you go to my website, which is yogabizcamp.com, and if you go to free resources, I have a whole software section there as well.
That's amazing, because it's so I like tech, but it's so hard to wade through all the options and know exactly what they are. So that's awesome to know about. I will send my teacher trainees who are looking to your site to take a look at that.
Oh, great. And then that'd be fantastic. And then an add-on software for studios, which I'm finding having a lot of success with, is Referizer, and which is really an interesting. They have a whole bunch of referral type things. But for the yoga studio, what I love is they have a rating thing. And so they send out, how are we doing? If it's low, if the review is low, it goes directly to the owner, and the owner can then deal with that, one-on-one with that person. What's going on with that? If it's a high rating, it sends the review directly to Google. And everybody knows Google reviews are kind of king right now, or queen. And my client who just signed up a month of it has got 10 brand new amazing Google reviews in 1 month. So tools like that are really helpful. We kind of got off here. I want to conclude this, and I want to ask you the biggest question and the most important question of the day. And that is, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, an astronaut.
Really?
Yeah, it was an astronaut, and then it was an actor, which I actually was for a while. So, but when I was young, it was an astronaut. Is this now? What do I want to be when I grow up now?
No, when you were young, what did you want to be?
Like, I'm not sure I'm there yet. No, you know what? I really loved astronomy, but I wasn't. But I was so bad at calculus and like math. I was like, it was not going to happen. So then I wanted to be an actor so I could play an astronaut on TV.
I just had this conversation. This popped into my head. I was at a conference in Arizona last month, and this conversation came up, and I had this visual that, I grew up in England and in a small old English town, and I always wanted to work at the local hardware store.
Really?
Because it was one of those old hardware stores with all the little drawers, with little wooden drawers with screws, and the whole back of the counter was just all these little drawers filled with little things. Yeah. So anyway.
It appealed to your sense of order.
Exactly. ADHD,
I still see that.
ADHD brain wanting to order. Rachel, I want to thank you, just, kind of rounding up this year. I would just want to thank you for your time. Yeah, it's always fun just chatting with you about what's going on in the business. And I just really think you're just a huge cheerleader, in particular for the yoga teacher. I just think you just really try and empower teachers. And so where do people find you? Got any offers? How to find?
Oh, yeah. So rachelyoga.com is my site, and that's where you can kind of get to everything. And I am running a discount on my courses that are coming out in January. I got $40 off all of them. So if anybody's thinking that they want some of that kind of Con Ed or some refreshers in the new year, you can check that out. You can also find me on the social media, Rachel Scott Yoga. Reach out anytime. I do virtual coffees with people I love to connect. So you can reach out.
I will put your links to everything into the show notes. And so the $40 off, is that already embedded, or is there a code for that? Or
I'm glad you asked, because I haven't put it out there yet. So you're the first. So it's early bird 40, and that will apply to the sequencing and to the theming and to how to create an online course. So if you want to put an online course out there, but want some help making it happen, that might be something you look into.
Perfect. I'm a big fan, Rachel. Hopefully we'll have some more of these kind of coffee times, just chatting about the industry next year. Have a great Christmas season. And I know you're moving in Colorado. Good luck with it all. And
thank you.
And we'll see lots more of you in 2022.
So nice to see you. And thank you for everything that you do. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. Bye, Rachel.
This is Yoga Biz Camp. This is my new by invite only dedicated space to support yoga businesses. It's like Facebook but without all the noise and clutter. Here you will find all my resources, including free monthly fireside chat business question and answer time with myself, and along with all of my different communities from studios to solos to the inner circle. Here you'll find guest interviews with leaders in our industry, and as well as all of my free resources, all in one dedicated space. If you're ready to become the next Yoga Biz champ and get private invite into my free community support space, go to yogabizcamp.com, click on Yoga Biz Camp, and I will see you on the inside. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our podcast. It really helps us out a lot. Thanks a million.